Hi, this is Sandy, and today I will show you how to put together the ghostly pumpkin. To start, take all the pieces from pumpkin 1 and pumpkin 2, and then what we'll do is gently curve it to the shape of the pumpkin sides. So curve at the top a little bit, and then curve a little bit more at the bottom, and then you'll have a gentle curve in the middle of each piece. This will help to assemble the pumpkin. Then note on the bottom tab of each of these pieces there's a number. You'll want to put them in order from 1 to 8, and this is the order you should assemble them from right to left. And this is because the tab size is a little different on one of the tabs, or one of the sides. So I did not show you from the beginning, but to assemble, you want to add glue to that top tab. And this will anchor the two pieces together. And then we'll align the tab fold on the right with the side edge as closely as possible. And we'll continue this with about 2 tabs at a time, from going from top to bottom. You want to make sure that you secure each tab as you go, because we want to make sure we get around that curve and maintain the curve of the pumpkin. And you can easily reach inside to apply pressure as well as outside. And when you're doing this, try to make sure that the edges match as closely as possible to that tab fold. It'll help close it up properly. And because of the curves, it is important to make sure that each tab is secure before going to the next. It is especially difficult once you get to this last couple tabs. As it curves on the bottom, you want to make sure that that second to last tab is secure before trying to attach that last tab, else it may pull up on that second to last tab. And I find it handy to have a wet paper towel nearby so I can wipe off the excess glue. Fortunately, this does have panels that you put on top of this, so any glue that you may get on the panels will be covered. Attach the remaining sides in the same manner, and as you attach more sides, it does get a little bit more difficult to get to the tabs to add the glue as the pumpkin shape forms. Just make sure that first tab is secure, and then you can bend up the piece to reveal the tabs underneath and add glue. A fine tip glue applicator is helpful when you're working with shapes like this. So you'll just continue down just like we did the previous side. Due to a failure in videotaping the closure of the pumpkin box, or the pumpkin I should say, I'm just going to explain how to complete the pumpkin. You want to just carefully hold those 2 remaining edges open when you get all the panels attached, and then you'll add glue to that top tab and attach the final edge, and then you'll hold it until it's secure. And then I would suggest folding in the remaining tabs and then attaching the bottom tab first, and that will secure it in place for you to reach in and add glue to the remaining tabs and glue them one by one. And this is what it'll look like when it's finished. I did add some ink to the edges, so that's why it looks a little bit weird on the edges. Next, we'll assemble the stem. Fold the 2 stem pieces as shown on the score lines. Then we'll start by attaching the top portion of the stem by gluing the bottom tabs of the top piece to the underside of the bottom portion of the stem. Start by attaching 1 tab to anchor that top piece. And then you'll glue 2 to 3 tabs at a time, making sure that the bottom edge aligns with the folds from the top tabs. The strange shape of the piece will produce the curved stem. At about the halfway mark, fold the vertical folds of the completed portion of the stem outward. Then continue gluing that top piece to the bottom piece with the remaining tabs. And then we'll close up the side by gluing those side pieces to close up just the side portion of the stem. And we'll insert those underneath so you can't see the tabs. And then just make sure you apply pressure, make sure everything's secure before you go on to the next step. For this next step, we'll attach the top piece. So you'll want to fold in all the tabs on the top, add a small amount of glue on the tabs, and fold over the top piece. Going around the edge, just apply pressure to each of the tabs while matching up the top edges to those folds. You'll need to apply pressure to get the bottom portion shaped properly to match the edges up. Reach inside to apply pressure to the tabs with your fingers while applying pressure on the top. Go ahead and fold in the tabs on the stem, fold them in, and determine how you're going to arrange your stem. You can put it any angle you'd like. And when you're ready, when you know the orientation you want to do, you're going to add glue to one edge, and that edge you'll use as an anchor to anchor to the top of the inside edge of the top of the pumpkin. So select a side, and then you'll insert that tab, and then attach the tab to the inside of an edge. And you'll want to apply pressure from the top and bottom at the same time. It may take a second to get it oriented. That's what happened to me. And then once it's attached and secure and dry, I would do the opposite tab, a tab opposite to that one, and secure it similarly, making sure it's good and dry before attaching the remaining tabs. So you can just reach inside and add glue to the remaining tabs and attach them one at a time. Depending how you put the panels together will determine whether you have a lot of gap on the edge of the stem. You may. If you do, don't worry about it. I would just add a little, maybe a ribbon or something else around the pumpkin stem for decor. And that's what I did when I finished it off. And now you can see they're all secure when you look in. That's how it's attached. Now we'll adhere the panels, and it is helpful to curl them into the basic shape of the pumpkin as we did the pumpkin pieces earlier. Then I applied a small amount of liquid glue that does not dry really quick, so I could make adjustments to the panel as I rub it on and attach. And I carefully attached it from the top to the bottom, applying pressure to each of the areas as I laid it down, and also from within. Then I continued to do that for all panels. Similarly, just add glue around the edge of each of the window and door panels and apply pressure and rub to make sure they adhere to the outside of the panel. And I pieced together the ghosts and also the ghost window in the back. You can also use the alternative window that was included with the file if you want to make it something other than ghosts. And you adhere it similar to the windows and doors. When attaching and adhering these borders, you may have to rub a little bit more in the middle due to the curves in the pumpkin. It takes a little bit more to make them stick. Then you piece together the trick or treat if you want to use that. It's optional. And then I added some fiber around it to hang it over the stem. The platform's optional, but if you want to use it, go ahead and add the panels to it. There are 2 different sets of border panels available in the file. And then go ahead and glue it together by gluing those side tabs on the sides underneath the adjacent sides. You'll just continue all the way around to complete the top portion, and then we'll flip it over to close that top, put a little edge on the bottom for the bottom piece. So once it's done, you go all the way around. I didn't show you all the steps. You just go ahead and flip it over, and I didn't put tabs down here. What you want to do is add glue to just a corner of the adjacent piece. This is a little bit better in this this view. Go ahead and add a little glue there and then hold it down to adhere it, and it's just creating a flat piece on the bottom to let it sit a little bit better. You don't have to waste a lot of paper as well if you just have this little edge. Once all the bottom edges are glued together, you'll have the platform ready to hold the completed pumpkin. I'm just showing you, illustrating how the pumpkin sits on there. You can see I use some embossing folders to spice it up a little bit. Next we'll add the gates. You want to dry fit it to make sure it's where you want it to be prior to adding the glue. Then you'll just apply glue to just 2 small little sections so you can attach it to the side of the doors. When you're attaching the second one, just make sure it's at the same height before you adhere it. I had that issue where it was slightly lower, and you just have to pay attention, just eyeball it, make sure it's about the same height, the second one. And then you just add the ghost to the doorway by adding glue to the ends of the ghost arms, and then applying the remaining ghosts anywhere you want, or not using them at all. And you don't need to use all these elements. You could use this pumpkin without the gates, ghosts, etc. And here it is completed, the ghostly pumpkin in the front, and then when you turn it around in the back, what it looks like. I hope you enjoyed making this project. Thank you for watching.